CBS News has confirmed that Hillary Clinton is planning to officially announce her candidacy for president on Sunday. Joining us from Washington with details and analysis, CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris and political director John Dickerson. So, Steve, a lot of people have been talking about social media kicking this all off. Is that how this might start off?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a social media announcement, probably a video on Sunday, and then next week she'll head to one of the early states and do some small events to meet with some potential caucus goers and voters. And it's an interesting strategy. And I just wanted to ask you, John, like what do you think of the strategy? Right,
the go small strategy.
Yeah.
Is it even possible for her to do that? She's been living encased in this celebrity of Secret Service protection, the massive trucks that roll up, or the SUVs that she's riding in. Can you shrink it down? I mean, Iowa's the best place to try because they can control a lot of the in and out. But, you know, she's going to have, I mean, you know what it's like being at these events where there are 4 different film crews from Japanese TV. I mean, there's going to be a swarm and everybody's going to be trying to get in wherever she is. So it'll be both a challenge to get a message across, but then just to manage the moment.
Right, and there'll be a lot of excitement initially, right? There'll be excitement from reporters, I think, sustained throughout all this. How does she sustain the excitement among voters over the course of the next several months, right? Because she's going to do these small events, she's going to hit all the early states, but she's not really running against any one person at this point. There's not much competition within the Democratic Party, and the Republicans are still trying to figure out who, and they will be until probably next March or April, who their nominee is going to be. So how does she sustain excitement among Democrats and voters?
It's a good question. I think there are 2 things. One, in Iowa, New Hampshire, and maybe even Nevada and South Carolina, they're just itching for the race to begin. They have no competition, so that's a little irritating, but they also see these Republican candidates coming through all the time, and they just want to, like, A, have their own show, but B, respond to these Republican candidates. And so I think they're just anxious, so anything she says will generate a sense of excitement for a little while. But then I think it'll be an interesting balance for her between a positive message, what's she running on, by the way, that's a big challenge for her, but the other is hearing her push back against that Republican message, so the Democrats can feel like, oh, right, we have a fighter in here on our team carrying the banner for us because the president is, you know, at the tail end of his presidency. So we need a voice out there. The question I'll throw to you is the message. What is it?
Well, right, we don't know.
Yeah.
You know, you've heard her talk a lot about being a grandmother. You've heard her talk a lot about wages and economic inequality. And I think those are probably 2 of the big things. You're going to try to see her connect better with voters. But again, how does that sustain itself if the Republicans are talking about foreign policy and really slamming her and Barack Obama on their stewardship of America's foreign policy, and she's out there talking about really issues that might not be at the forefront of everybody's mind at this point? I mean, I guess there's a sense that she will grow her events. They will get larger as you go along. There'll be rallies, there'll be town hall meetings, there'll maybe even debates with other potential Democratic candidates. But again, it's hard for me to envision where we're going to be in December of 2015, while everybody's focused on the Republicans, what Hillary's going to be doing.
And how much control she can have over her own message. I mean, the challenge for any candidate, one of the things they used to say about Mitt Romney the second time he ran was, they said he doesn't swing at every pitch. When he first ran, there was not a press release or a tweet that they didn't jump on and respond to, and which meant that the campaign had a kind of fishtailing quality to it. And for her, what'll be interesting is if, A, they can keep it small as they're trying to, but then also if they can keep the message, whatever that message is, whatever the rationale for her candidacy is, to kind of keep promoting that. Because as you know, you can't push through a message, particularly for somebody who's as well known as she is, without kind of being constant and repetitive about it. If you aren't, it won't get through. And if you get, you know, whipsawed to different issues because your opponents are determining the terms of the debate, then you kind of end up with a muddle.
So then the elephant in the room is former President Bill Clinton. Where does he fit in all this? I mean, you know, he's
more
Bill
like
Clinton,
sort of Saint Bernard in the room, kind of bounding around, upsetting the teacups and the liquor cabinet. he basically thinks he can run this campaign and this message better than anybody. He thought that for himself. He thought that for Barack Obama in his presidency in terms of what he should do, both his public message, but then also how he should deal with Congress. So I'm sure he will have that instinct. He'll be an incredible surrogate for her. In 2008, when they used to campaign together, there were times when their 1-2 act was fantastic because he could say things sort of adoringly about her. You mentioned the grandmother bit. The idea of that is, hey, she's just like us. She's got a grandkid too, and she'll tell stories about her mother and her mother's perseverance. Oh, she's got a mother from the Midwest, and he can play the kind of loving husband. But he has
the propensity to also cause some trouble.
Yeah,
right? And so, how do they keep that under control?
They don't. I talked to a staff doing one of these, what do you do about Bill Clinton stories a year or so ago, and a former staffer said, he was president of the United States. Like, you don't give him direction. He does what he wants to do, and you kind of deal with it when it's happened. So there will be sort of a lot of cleanup on aisle 9, and there will be a squad of people sort of who are on that detail.
Right. Well, I guess we'll leave it there. It's going to be fun to watch the next few months. So
lots to analyze.
It'll be great. Back to you.
I'll certainly say it's been fun watching the two of you talk about it all. Steve Chaggaris and John Dickerson in Washington. Thank you.